people were leaving things that they had built for a dream and a hope and fingers crossed that something would give them freedom differently than what we've been sold all these years in real estate.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited you are here today because we have an absolutely all-star guest that we've brought in, Elizabeth Riley. For those of you who don't know her entire profile, we're going to ask her to actually break down some of it, so I'm not going to steal that thunder here, but she's absolutely incredible. And one of my very favorite things about her is she's a great human being. And a lot of times those things don't line up. And it's very fun because her audio and her video tend to sync up. And so I just love that about her. We spent so much time together over the years, and she is an absolute all-star, guys, on both production and attraction, how to grow and maintain a brokerage footprint. And so we're going to talk about all of that today, and want to bring up on stage from Texas, Elizabeth Riley. Elizabeth, hey, it's good to see you.
Hi, friends. Oh my gosh,
Hey.
it's so fun. Hold on a minute.
It's fun to have you here.
I'm unmuted. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Woohoo! This is fun. Lexi, I have you up here as well. And it's, this is one of those rare moments where we get to kind of dig into somebody. I mean, you've been around EXP for what, 10, 11?
11 years.
11 years.
Isn't that crazy?
Jeez Louise.
Oh my gosh. It feels like it's flown by. It has flown by.
Yeah. Well,
I remember talking to Elizabeth the first time had to have been spring of 2017 in Coronado Island at Shareholders. And I just remember meeting her, and she had this, always has this bright energy, but she's always calm. She's just like this rock and just so inspiring. Elizabeth, for real, you were I'm wow, she's really cool. She's super nice. She's very smart. She's highly successful. And then every time that I saw you, I heard more of your story, and it just has always blown me away. What an amazing human being you are. Forget EXP, forget the goddess that it took for you to put this idea out there and say, I wonder if this works. It's amazing. But just, you're an amazing person.
Thank you, friend. I love the fact that you think I'm calm, because I feel like I don't feel that I'm calm. So the fact that comes across, it's a total duck thing. And my family probably would not tell you I'm calm, but I feel like I'm hair on fire all the time and all the things, but I'm glad that I have you all fooled. So
you wear it well.
Yeah, this is what happens when you wear hair on fire poorly. So
yeah. I'm starting to see that, Jeff. So that's all right. It looks good on you. I'm not sure about me.
Oh, thanks. Well, so why don't let's roll it back all the way to the beginning. You were born at a very young age, and then what? So let's figure out how did this Elizabeth Riley character, who's so amazing, come to be, and maybe get us caught up a little bit, because a lot of people maybe don't know your background. They maybe know some of the promotional stuff we've put out there, which is kind of a story of 11s right now, but 11,000 and 11 icons and that kind of stuff. But I'm just interested in, moreover, what does this career look like, and get us caught up?
Yeah, I love that, because I think especially in this era, everything is so noisy and loud, and people selling BS. It's let's get away from the fluff. And this is why I was mentioning with you guys that we could do a presentation. I've got presentations, all the things, but let's just have a conversation. Let's jump into wherever this conversation can go, and what's important to your viewers and your guests that are here with us today, that your time is valuable. Every single person on here, your time is valuable. And I want to honor that and make this the most impactful time together that we can. So, all that to say, no real structure today, if that's okay. I mean, I think we're also structured and checking boxes all the time. So let's just have a conversation. My backstory. So I've been in the business 21 years, and I feel like every time I say that, I feel really old. I mean, you know what I mean? You look back and you're like, oh my gosh, somebody's had a career for this long. And I remember thinking how old people were, and I don't feel old. I don't feel that old. But anyway, I'm old. So I got in the business 21 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia, because I had to. And I don't know if y'all are anything like me, but if somebody tells you you have to do something, it's not always with the smile and moving forward
Right.
and all the things. And I was doing really cool. My job was an event and marketing director for a famous tennis player named Stan Smith. Some of y'all might know who Stan is. If you don't, he had the Adidas shoes, like such an amazing, humble, incredible person. And there was a small group of us. He had a small event in Atlanta, Georgia. We were there because my husband worked for Dell and was transferred out to Atlanta. And so we were working on these events that were major corporate events around major sporting events. And literally at that time, I was working on the Greece Olympics. So when my husband and I sat in my CPA's office, and my CPA looks at us because we had investment properties, right? I mean, like that's the whole goal. You work corporate, you put your money aside, you buy investment properties, right? You're doing all the
100%.
things. We were sitting in front of his office and he's like, "Hey, I've got two screens." He turns them around. He goes, "One of you needs to get your real estate license." And I'm like, like, I'm not getting my real estate license. Like, who wants to be a real estate agent? Not me, right? So, he said, "Well, Wes, you've got the full-time career at Dell Computer and the benefits and things like that. You need to show the IRS that you're doing something in the real estate space, and that's not really viable for you. So, Elizabeth, you need to get your license." And y'all, I went kicking and screaming. I was a brat. I was like, I am not interested in that. I'm going to Greece. Like, that's a lot more exciting than real estate. So I did what I had to do, right? And I got my license in Georgia, and I was in a couples Bible study, and I said, "Hey," and four of the husbands were actually real estate agents,
Hmm.
which is so funny, different companies, right? And I don't think I realized that at the time, but it's like, golly, everybody's a real estate agent. Everybody knows real estate agents. And I said, "Hey, I have to get my license. What company? Yada, yada, yada." And I ended up going with Keller Williams because they were in my neighborhood. They would take me part-time. At that time, nobody would look at me part-time. And so I just, my friends that were in my Bible study or our book club or things like that, they're like, "Oh, you got your license?" I was like, "Yeah." "Well, let's go. I want to go get a house." "All right, let's go look at a house." So it was so casual. It wasn't a job. It wasn't what I thought a real estate agent had to be. And quite frankly, it was a hobby. Like, if I'm being completely transparent, I had the perfect scenario. My husband was corporate. I didn't have to work. I wasn't supposed to work. My goal was to be a stay-at-home mom until I realized, oh no, I need to work to be a better mom. Like, I am not a stay-at-home mom. Kudos to those that can do that. That is not me. And so that's how my business started. I was pregnant with my first kiddo at the time, so I had him in real estate. So I grew up with a new baby and a real estate career and things like that. And so my business was just really a hobby, working with friends. I didn't have to do this, but this was fun. And I think when you don't have to do something and you don't really have to grind in the way a lot of us have to grind, your perspective is a little bit different. So fast forward, I became a top producer in my market center. I don't even know what that means anymore. I don't know how much production I did. I didn't know my numbers. I'm being really honest with y'all because I think so many of us make success look easy. And I think it's in the failures and in the stumbles and in the mistakes that it lets everybody else learn quicker. Or, oh, that didn't work for them. Let me try it this way or let me try it differently. And I think so many people gatekeep information. So I'm going to be my hot mess express with y'all today. If you're good with that. And I've had caffeine. So there's that. Anyway, so in 2008, my husband was transferred to Austin, Texas. Now, if y'all had been in the business in 2008, that was a challenging time in the business. In Atlanta, Georgia, the bubble was literally about to burst. So I was doing a lot of short sales and foreclosures and all the things. And literally, I think I sold my house 2 weeks before the whole bubble burst. I mean, it was that kind of a thing. So we were transferred to Atlanta, Georgia, or Austin, Texas from Atlanta, Georgia. I had an 18-month-old at the time. We lived in a townhome community with 44 townhomes. I did not know anybody in Texas. I had to meet people for not only me, but also for my son, right? My husband traveled internationally all the time. And I was like, well, I'll get my license here too, which Texas is a whole completely different animal. They don't have reciprocity. Like, we're weird here. It was so much more challenging because of how different it was from what I was used to. Went to Keller Williams because that's what I knew. And I was like, okay, we'll do this. So what was interesting is I walked around the neighborhood and if you guys know me or you hear my story, and we'll share about this a little bit too, I don't do what everybody told me I have to do to be successful, right? Remember when we'd have to go through and, oh, in order to be successful, you have to cold call, you have to knock on doors, you have to do this many open houses, you have to, right? If you tell me I have to do something, I kind of go the opposite direction. I'm not going to cold call. I'm not going to knock on doors. I'm not going to do an open house. I'm an introvert, much more than people realize. And that's just not authentic. And if I'm not doing something authentic, I'm not going to do it because you're going to see right through me and nobody's going to buy the BS. Right. So, but I did take my kiddo and we did knock on those 44 doors, not to get the business, but to earn the relationship. And so we knocked on the door. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. This is my son, Trip. We just moved here from Texas. Everybody's curious. They're like, they see the moving vans. They want to know your story, all the things. And they're like, oh my gosh, why'd you move here? Oh, well, and so you get to have those conversations. My husband transferred. Oh, awesome. Are you stay-at-home mom? Well, yes, but not really. And, you kind of break the ice there. I'm getting my real estate license here. I was a licensed agent there. Oh my gosh, you're getting your license here. Don't you know the market's horrible? Don't you know the sky is falling? And it was kind of an aha moment for me because I was like, people are still buying and selling. I just moved across the country. If people are putting their heads in the sand and going, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, then that's opportunity for me. So the things that people weren't wanting to do or showing up, I could step in. And so I started building relationships from Emler Swim School with my little one, or CMO. I mean, not CMO. Yeah, well, CMO is Children's Morning Out. And my first client was one of the moms in my son's Children's Morning Out. She's like, oh, do you work in Leander? I have a friend buying there. I was like, absolutely, I work Leander. Yo, I didn't even know where Leander was. I could not even figure out how to get home, but you figure it out. You're like, absolutely. So that's how I built my business, just the relationships and having that confidence. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was showing up in the rooms and I was showing up on the tours and I was showing up in the meetings to learn as much as I could and asking those questions. And so at Keller Williams, I became 2014, we had 650 agents in my market center there. I was number one. For a long time, I was trying to do both markets in Atlanta and in Austin. That was very hard to do. I made the ALC in both states, and people are like, oh, that's so impressive. I was like, no, I'm burning out. I'm dying on the vine. And so 2014, when I was number one, I came home. My husband was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Congratulations. And not only was I number one in production, I was also one of the top quote unquote recruiters. And I put that in quotes because I don't like the term recruiting. I think there's nothing wrong with it, but I think there's a difference between recruiting and attraction. And what I do is attraction. I was a recruiter for Dell Computer in the college recruiting days. So that was very much a recruiting job. I needed to recruit for the skill set that was good for the company. I didn't care what really happened for the agent or the person coming in, right? It wasn't what their needs were, it was the company needs. I think that's recruiting. I think attracting is, how do you attract? That's a good fit for everybody involved. So I came home and my husband was like, let's go celebrate. And I said, I'm getting out of the business. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm getting out of the business. I'm burned out. God, family, business is what we talked about at KW. And it was all business in order for me to do. And by the time I had 4 kids at this time. So husband traveling internationally, 4 kids, they're all little. I'm trying to do this big business. And I'm just like, something's got to give. And I didn't get into this business to be this real estate name. Like, my family is what's important. And so when I realized it was all business, I had to make a change. My husband said, go start your own company. Nope, not doing that. Go to another company. They're all recruiting you. I was like, no, I'm just trading time for money. It's all the same thing. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. So my Georgia relationships, key is relationships. My Georgia relationships had all gone to this little tiny company called EXP. And they said, Elizabeth, we're in Georgia. You're in Texas. We could still work together again. What do you think? Would you meet with somebody? And like, Jeff and Lexi, we've gone back way long time, right? If you were to say, hey, Elizabeth, would you meet with somebody? I'm not even going to ask you who. Right. I'd say absolutely, right? Because you respect me, my time. I respect you, your time. We're going to row in the same direction, right? So that was those relationships there. Elizabeth, would you meet with somebody? Absolutely. Didn't even ask who. And that was Glenn Sanford. So Glenn and Debbie came into town. And it's funny because people are now like going, oh my gosh, you must have had a big business. And I did, but y'all, I didn't know my numbers. I still did not know my numbers. I was number one and I had no clue what I did. Because my business is 100% referral, right? And I was just like, it was more of a business, not as much as a hobby, but I still didn't have the structures in place, right? So I say this to y'all because not everybody has their structures in place, and that's okay. So Glenn and Debbie come into town. Glenn talks to me all about revenue share. Now, I was one of the top recruiters over at KW accidentally because people join people, but it was drowning me. So I had probably 60 people, but KW didn't have the resources and the tools. And I'm one of those mother hens where I want to make sure everybody's succeeding together. And so I was drowning trying to take care of them. I'm not Catholic, but I have Catholic guilt, right? So if they're not doing enough to have their bills paid, I feel guilty about that because they trusted me and they trusted my guidance and we're letting them down, right? So Glenn saw that. He's like, oh, he's talking all about revenue share. And I said, I'm not interested in revenue share. He's like, huh, why not? I was like, Glenn, he goes, what are you interested in? I was like, tell me about this stock thing. Okay, guys, when I was talking to him, he had 400 agents at his company nationally. Okay, so what he was doing was very different than what we know of EXP now. And now we have all these copycats that are like, they were the haters until they weren't, going, oh, there's something to this. We're going to copy this, right? We'll get into that in a minute. But so when I joined the company, there were 400 agents. The stock was, I don't know. Well, when they first started talking to me, the stock was like 10 cents. Not, like when I joined, I think it was 60 cents. But I said, tell me about this stock. I said, because Stefan Swanepoel says you're Amazon.com of real estate. And I know what could have happened if I had believed in Amazon when they were selling books online and I had bought stock and been involved, like life would look different for all of us. And then that opportunity comes to mind. Like, what if that works? That's pretty cool, right? And what if it doesn't? Well, if it doesn't, there's all these companies that need me more than I need them. So the risk, somebody told me a long time ago, they said, you took a huge risk coming to this company. I said, no. The risk was staying where I was, right? You stay where you are, complacent, content, bored, uninspired, you're going to die on the vine. The risk was making a move and believing in myself, even though I didn't have the answers. You don't always have to have the answers. So I said, tell me about the stock, because at Keller Williams, I had 10 baseball caps that say Capper, and those don't pay the bills. So he starts telling me about the stock. He starts telling me about Icon. I'm like, oh, that's cool. My numbers would make Icon. He's like, yeah, we don't have any Icons yet. So I came to the company and I was agent 466. So here's the thing. What I told you guys is I was supported with a husband who had a job and all the things. Not everybody could take the risk and the jump that I could do. What I did know about me too, and my personality, and as I've grown as a leader, I'm a connector. I'm a community builder. People will follow me, even though they don't have the answers. And I also understand that's a risk for some people. And so I wanted to make as much of an informed decision as possible and ask as many people as possible. And I had to seek wise counsel. So I was in 2 market centers. I went to my team leader in Georgia and I told him what I was thinking about doing. I was like, I don't know anything about this, but this is what I'm thinking about doing. And he told me, you're crazy. Don't do this. You've already built this. You've got all these things. Don't do this. And I said, okay, thank you. Like, right. If you're seeking wise counsel, it's not a debate. It's like, I want to collect all the information and then analyze it and see what makes the most sense for me and my family. But I want unbiased opinions. I went to my team leader here in Georgia, in Texas, who had just retired from KW. And I was like, look, I don't know anything other than Keller Williams. I was at KW for 10 years. I can't compare what it looks like with all these other brokerages. I don't know what this means. What questions should I be asking that I'm not asking or that I don't know? And he's like, this is interesting. Okay, let me think this through. So we met for 5 months and I went to that person because I trusted him. And I went to him because I knew that he wouldn't steer me wrong. And I knew he was safe. What I did not know is he was bored and uninspired as well. And after five months, he said, oh, you know what? I'm bored. I'll do this with you. Let's join EXP together. And I was like, I never called him to recruit him, but that was Gene Frederick. So if you guys know Gene Frederick, everybody knows Gene Frederick. He's amazing. I love him to pieces. And Gene said, hey, this is kind of fun. And Gene and I are very similar personalities in that, but we had to go to our wives and our husbands and say, hey, and Susan, he goes, you have to talk Susan into letting us sell everything we have at KW, all 7 market centers. I'm like, Okay. So we all went to dinner. But the cool thing about our spouses is that they believed in us and they knew we were so excited about something and building something different that they supported us. Even though they didn't understand it, they didn't have the answers, they supported us. And so we joined EXP in May of 2015, Agent 466, not knowing anything, building the tracks like as fast as that train was going and not having any of the support I mean, KW was brutal to us. All these other companies and people and relationships we thought that were always with us, they weren't. And so it was not easy to grow back then. And everybody looks at what EXP is now and they're like, oh yeah, all these things. But that we were building based on relationships, right? People were leaving things that they had built for a dream and a hope and fingers crossed that something would give them freedom differently than what we've been sold all these years in real estate. So that's how we got to EXP, and it's been amazing. So Glenn created something really cool for entrepreneurs and people to build their business. And so like Gene loved the recruiting route. Like that's who he is. I went the production route. And we kind of went side by side like this, but I was the first icon ever named, which was amazing. Instead of a baseball cap, I got my cap back in stock. Y'all, that's life changing. So that was 11 years ago. I've consistently got icon every year. So I'm the only one with 11. And I think what's interesting is, yes, I'm number 7 growth leader. I love all my people. I think this is possible for everybody. I think if we ask a lot of questions, there's a way for people to fit into our model. It's not the same. It doesn't fit everybody, but it fits most. You just have to ask the right questions. And I think EXP has been misunderstood and the narrative has been created by other people outside of it. And so I stay in production because we're a real estate company. Keeps me relevant. It keeps me current. I know I can have this conversation. It keeps me on the other side of transactions with other agents. It keeps me in rooms where I can talk to agents saying, oh yeah, I get that. Like this is what I'm doing too, right? So everybody has a different path and a goal, but that's what's so cool because freedom is different for all of us. Success looks different from all of us. It's not one way to do it. It's not, you have to do an open house to succeed. I've never done an open house in 21 years, by the way. Yeah. Okay. But that's what everybody kept saying. You have to do these things to succeed. It's like, no, that we've just built an entrepreneurial platform where we can each build whatever dream we want to build on, and we're all owners together, and it's super fun. So the 11 years I've been here has flown by because I'm having more fun than I ever did before. 10 years at KW, I was burned out. There wasn't an exit ramp. There wasn't an opportunity to grow bigger than where I was doing. I was very, very stuck. And so now I'm just in the evolution phase where, yes, I've got all the real estate that I'm doing, but now I'm stepping into different roles and different things. So that is a lot of conversation from me, dialogue or monologue, I guess. But that's kind of the backstory of how we came to EXP. I will say one thing, my team leader in Georgia that told me I was crazy, after 7.5 years, y'all, he watched me. People are going to watch you. They're going to, regardless if you're talking about EXP, any of that stuff, they're going to watch you. After 7.5 years, he joined. And he's like, I should have done this sooner. I was like, oh, timing's everything. One of my biggest partners, if you guys know Terrence Murphy, former NFL, amazing. 4.5 years of just building the relationship. It wasn't about business. It's like they start watching you in different ways. And so there's a lot of ways we can take this conversation. I'm very different than a lot of people. I don't do EXP Explains. I don't do presentations. I don't do, one-to-many. I am much more one-on-one relationship because I can talk to all of you on this screen and everybody has a different goal. If I ask the questions and understand what's important to you, we can get to a yes much quicker for whether it's business or whether it's production. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, I love it. And I mean, really, really, really good stuff. And it gives us so many different avenues that we can start to go down here, which is exciting. And so we have a mixed crowd. I mean, I'm looking through the audience, even just here live with us today. And if you're catching us on the replay, thanks for watching. But I will say, we probably have cumulative, like over 100 Icon Awards all on here, which is really exciting. So we have some great producers. Let's start on the production side, because I do know that you think differently. You think about conversations differently. You're very relational. You're not like lead gen maniac, like tear up the phones, cold calling, all that kind of stuff. And so what is your ethos in terms of production? I mean, you covered it a little bit here, but I know you've got a great team. You've got a great production footprint, 11 Icon awards, so it's not an accident. So there's something repeatable and scalable here. And how do you see that? What is that?
Yeah, so I'm an individual agent, but I have a team. Okay, so I have
Right.
they've changed the name over the years, but I think what happened was Glenn didn't know really what to do with me because I didn't want to be a team lead. I didn't want to have a team, but I had people follow me saying, "Hey, I want us to be a team." And so Glenn was like, "Well, you can all brand together, market together, and things like that." So it's called a self-organized team. I think they recently changed the name, but um, we're really just a referral group, if you will. So I have, and I've made a lot of mistakes. When we first all came over, there were 9 of us, and we branched off Lux Property Group. Now I have 3 of us because just things evolve and different goals and things. I mean, they're still at EXP building their own brands, which is another really cool thing, right? We can all support each other in different ways. But Lux Property Group there's 3 of us that are licensed. We are literally a referral group. I would say I'm the rainmaker because of referrals and the businesses that or the relationships that I've earned. Agent to agent referrals have been massive now with EXP. We do a lot of those. So now what I've done is it's just leverage, right? They don't want to do what I do, and I don't really want to do what they do. So they don't want to be flying around and speaking and having one-on-one meetings and things like that. Leanne loves to be in the car with a buyer. I haven't been in a car with a buyer in 6 years. Okay. And Meredith loves to be with the sellers on the listing side. So now what we've done is, okay, what works for all 3 of us? What works is the business comes in. I have an agent on every transaction with me. I'm doing the negotiations and the contracts and all the things. And they are my boots on ground. So Leanne works with my buyers, Meredith works with my sellers, but I'm still very much involved and I'm still very much, that's why, like, even before this, I was putting out fires because Meredith's out of town. But it's nice because we can all help each other and cover each other when we're gone. And so our clients feel like they have a bigger group supporting them. In Austin, Texas, we have a ton of teams and boutique firms and things like that we would go up against quite a bit. So that was our response to that. But it is 100% referral is our business. We are consistent I was training on this yesterday, like stupid little touches we do every single month, but it's all about consistency. I think whether it's production or attraction, people give up too quick. They're like, well, that didn't work. I mean, consistently every single month, I am sending something in the mail to my clients that have nothing to do with me. Because nobody cares about us as agents, y'all. If you can serve the client and make them feel like you're coming up alongside them and partnering with them in some way, it's all about them. Make it all about them. Too many agents are like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. I did 20 transactions. I sold this much. First of all, don't say I did 20 transactions. I served 20 families, right? If you're saying, oh, I did 20 million in production, you know what they're doing? They're calculating. They think they understand what real estate agents do in their own way, but they don't really. So they're like, oh, 20 million, 3%. Like they have no idea. So then they're like, oh, you're too busy or you're making too much money or whatever. Like don't make it about us. They don't care. So I went on a listing last week, actually. I'm launching it this week. $2.5 million listing. I realized they're not even in my database. I haven't marketed to them. I haven't done anything. And when I sat there, I was like, Melanie, what, you know a lot of real estate agents. I'm just curious, what made you choose us? And she's like, oh, Elizabeth, I've watched you for years. You serve, you don't sell. Y'all, that's the biggest compliment I could have. So mine is very, very relational. I mean, what I'm telling you guys now is exactly what I do on the day-to-day basis. We send stupid stuff out. Like our market's really slow right now. And so I had a training yesterday with some of my Austin agents. I'm trying to find it right now. But, I do stupid stuff like this. I'll just show you. Like, look, $500 gift voucher. And I write a letter to my client saying, hey, I know the market's a little slow. I know your client, you might have somebody looking to buy or sell. Maybe this would help. Stupid stuff like that. This is stupid too. This one I'm getting a lot of responses on though. People are responding to our marketing. It says filling the itch for a new home this summer. Call us for the deets. And it's a little mosquito repellent deet cloth thing, like that kind of stuff, right? So it keeps it curious. It keeps it interesting. It's not like, oh, here's the market stocks for the neighborhood that 20 agents are sending. It's setting us apart. But we're sending something like that once a month. consistently. So whatever you do, I don't care what it is you do, just do it consistently. We're also sending them messages every month. I use an app called Reach. I don't mass text. I don't mass email. I don't mass anything because I don't like people doing that to me, right? I treat people the way I want to be treated. But Reach is great because I can send one text, hey, I was in the neighborhood and I was just thinking about you. It's been a while. Let's grab a cup of coffee. But it goes to them individually. So I do that, a message to all of them once a month, right? So it's still a touch. We're still building that relationship. And when I go to coffee with them, I don't talk about real estate, right? How are you doing? Tell me how the kids are doing. Oh my gosh, it's summer. What camps are they doing? It always comes back to real estate, y'all. They always want to talk about it, but I let them lead those conversations. So I'm just staying in front of people all the time. And I'm not huge on social media. But again, some people love social media. Some people dominate in social media. Some people dominate in open houses. Figure out what's authentic to you and do that. Double down on that. Don't chase the shiny objects. Don't compare yourself to what everybody else is doing because comparison is going to kill joy and it's going to keep you distracted. Right?
So
We do
Elizabeth,
open houses, but I don't. But
right.
all my listings have open houses, right? So just find the people that you can help support. But that's where my business is and my referrals. And I love all my referral sources. Even if that referral never calls me, I'm going to love on my referral source because I want them to know that I'm here no matter what they need.
Yeah, I am, this is always how Jeff and I have run our real estate. And Jeff was really technology focused, which was great. But at the end of the day, we've always taught that you can leverage technology to be relational. And I think the messaging now so much, Elizabeth, is you have to be a technologist. You have to use AI. You have to be on social media. You have to advertise. You have to, all of these things. And people translate kind of the consolidation of some real estate businesses as, as kind of the death, all the smalls are being sucked up by the bigs and you have to be a big player and have a big presence and all of that. And I think that's true. And I think there are some very successful organizations in real estate at EXP and otherwise that are leveraging those things to the benefit of a lot of people and themselves, which is fantastic. I also, though, love to hear that someone of your caliber is like, I'm authentic to me. I'm keeping it real for me. And that is what connects with my people. Because I feel like so many agents right now just feel pushed to the margins and feel like the way they've always done it isn't good enough anymore. And I don't believe that to be true. And I love hearing you.
I think people in general, I mean, think about all of us, not even in real estate, right? Just in life. How bombarded are we all with AI? And like, we don't even know what's real out there. And we don't even know what's true. And you see something and you're like, oh my gosh. And I think consumers are sick of that too. So I think consumers and clients want you to get back to the basics, right? Mm-hmm. I write a whole bunch of handwritten notes. Right? I love getting handwritten notes, but I want people to know I'm thinking about them. Even it doesn't have to, and I don't put my business card in there, y'all. Again, I'm not trying to be salesy or just ask for the business. I'm earning that relationship. The business is always going to come. I've got a stack of note cards over here that are graduation cards because it's graduation season.
Yeah. Use
social media as a tool, right? We're all scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. So this 3 C's, right? I always try to do this: compliment, console, and congratulate. Find 5 people a day. It's not hard. Find 5 people a day to compliment, console, or congratulate. And that doesn't mean just a thumbs up on Facebook. That means interact, engage with somebody. If somebody's dog dies, I am so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know this was so important to you, but then take it a step further. What I've done is, especially if it's somebody that's important to me, I'll go to Etsy. I'll go through their stuff and I'll find a picture of their dog, and I'll go to Etsy and I'll have them do a watercolor drawing or a charcoal drawing, and I have it framed and I send it to them with a handwritten note, right? That's not to get us. I'm not posting it on social. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm wanting them to understand I'm a real human and I feel your pain. I'm not an animal person, but I know that they might be, right? So find ways to love on people and just show up for them differently, because so many of our lives are behind. I mean, I feel like I've been connected with you guys forever. I haven't seen you guys in forever, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm grateful for social media for that. But at the same time, we get lazy, right? So right now it's graduation time. I've got a whole bunch of gift cards and congratulation cards. And what I'm doing is when I see somebody that's in my world or my sphere or my Facebook or whatever, I write a card and put a gift card in there to their kid. Because what's happening is, and I'm not trying to buy them, right? I'm trying to celebrate, like, my kids are my world. I've got 4, right? And when somebody loves on my kids, like I do, I'm like, oh. So I've sent out a whole bunch of gift cards. It doesn't have to be a lot, y'all. Go do a Starbucks. I don't care. But then all of a sudden I'm getting text messages going, oh my gosh, Hudson just got a gift card from you for graduation. That was incredible. I can't believe you thought about them. It's that relationship. People just want to get back to the basics. So my business is always back to the basics.
You know, Elizabeth, one of the things that you've said several times, though, is that there's this, how do I put this? If you don't ask for something in return, you're more likely to get it, which is this weird irony of how humans work, because reciprocity shows up the most. It's like you not putting your business card in the, right? Like, here's a really nice note, and oh, by the way, give me money, right? It feels like maybe it lessens it a little bit. I was thinking about your dog, and please give me money, right? It doesn't sing the same.
I mean, it's not genuine.
That's it. It doesn't feel like you're actually there for them. You're there for yourself. And that is a problem that I think shows up in this industry. I'm curious. So multiple hats here, but so change hats for a second. Cause I'm guessing this I know that this exact same ethos also then permeates the way that you've approached attraction over time. You said before, recruiting versus attraction, those are different things. So talk a little bit about that. Let's open that can of worms, because I think sometimes, recruiting has like a bit of a garlic breath thing in real estate, where people are like, oh, like what is this? And I understand who you are as a human. And so I'm excited to hear how that approach has been so successful.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to say to y'all, I mean, I don't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 20. Okay. So I don't want you guys sitting here going, oh my gosh, Elizabeth's doing all of this and I can't do this or all the things. That's not the case. Or Elizabeth has this massive budget or this massive database or things. I probably, y'all, have maybe 500 people that I'm actively engaged with in my database. Okay. So this doesn't have to be thousands of people. You can be extremely intentional. And I'm going to jump to your question, Jeff, but I just want to make this as a reminder. Like when I moved into our house that we built here, my son said, Mom, I saw 3 for sale signs. Doesn't that make you mad? I'm like, no, actually that's eye-opening. I'm a secret agent. They don't know who I am. So start there. So I took 2 or 3 different streets around my neighborhood. I mean, so many times people are like, you've got to farm these areas of 800 people and all. You don't have to do that. I took 3 streets around my house and I wrote a letter. Hi, neighbor. I realize we don't know each other. We just moved in. I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. Here's my family, all the things. This is what we do. Like one sentence of what I do, because now they can put my name when I start marketing to them and things like that. And then I would do Front Porch Fridays. Hey, neighbors, let's all get together, right? There's ways you can do something on a very small scale, but it gives you very big results. Okay. So I just want you guys to know, because sometimes it's easy when we're standing here going, oh yeah, this is how much I sell. First of all of our markets are different. Like I'm literally selling $150,000 condo, but plus I have a $5 million listing. Okay. So I love on everybody. A referral is a referral is a referral, but I don't want you guys to think that I've got this massive system. I don't. If you saw my desk right now, you guys would probably turn off this camera, because I don't have the systems that a lot of people have, right? So I will go down those rabbit holes going, oh, well, I'm not as organized or systematic or processed. I have a process and a system that works for me. And you just have to figure out what works for you, but do not compare yourself to everybody else, because just figure out what you need to do for you. All right, attraction. I love talking about this because I am very, very different. First and foremost, for many years, people would tell me I was lucky. And for many, many years, I thought that I was lucky. And it made me shrink and it made me feel small. What I realized though is luck is just being prepared when opportunity presents itself, right? They said I was lucky because I got Gene, which is so funny. I'm like, I didn't even call Gene to recruit him because, I mean, seriously, 400 agents. But what I did do for all the years before is the work before the work that nobody ever saw. I earned a relationship with Gene because I was one of his top producers in his market center. I was his top recruiter in his market center. I was his top community builder in his market center. I would go into the schools and love on agents when nobody else did it. Like I earned that relationship with with Gene to earn a conversation with him. So that when I'm like, hey, Gene, can I run something by you? The question, it wasn't even a question, it's a yes. So I realized after lots of coaches and people pouring into me that it's not luck. I just did the work and I was ready when the opportunity presented itself. Okay. So with attraction and recruiting, and by the way, I have 75 people on my front line. Gene is one of those. Okay. So all those 75 people, I've never called them to recruit them to EXP. They all came to me. So they came to me because they were curious, or, hey, can we ask you some questions? Or I see you're doing this, which is amazing, which is what I want. But then I have a responsibility to show up and pour in and love on and develop and meet people where they're at. I don't want 100 or 200 or 500 people in my front line, y'all. I can't love on those people. 75 is manageable, right? Okay, so if you teach your people how to love on other people, it grows. My 75 agents have grown out to 10,700 agents at this point. I did not do that by myself. That did not happen because of accolades. That did not happen because of, I mean, I've got some of those people that are much bigger producers than me, y'all. But what I had that they didn't was a way to approach freedom, a way to get off the hamster wheel, a way to make their life and their businesses so much better. And I built it not on accolades, but I built it on the business because of the relationships. So all it takes is one person. You show up and love on that one person, and that one person's life is so much better, and their business changes, and people recognize and they see that growth and they see that change, and they want to be a part of that too. It creates curiosity. So for me, I don't put anybody in my front line anymore. I don't have to. I've won the game. I want everybody else to win the game. I want to develop people. And so I do a ton of third-party calls, ton of third-party validation calls where I sit down. I'm like, tell me about you. What's important to you? What's your passion? Do not EXP on people. They don't care. They don't understand what we're doing, y'all. They don't understand our company. Here's what they know. They know all the things that they've heard, and they think they know about our company, or they scrolled and got all these bits and pieces, but they don't really know. And it doesn't matter about the company because, again, like I said earlier, we're an entrepreneurial platform. What is their dream? Because they're either going to build their business or somebody's hiring to build theirs, right? And that's what I tell them. I'm like, you're renting your career. What does that freedom look like to you? And when you ask the questions like, tell me what's important, then you can go down the rabbit hole. I don't talk about EXP. I talk about, oh, well, have you thought about this? I create community. I create opportunities. I create events. I invite people to things all the time. And I'm not talking about Build and EXP Con and things like that, right? I mean, those are massive, but I get more one-on-one and more intentional in the smaller events, the smaller masterminds. I created AHAs here, Agents Helping Agents, which is just in person once a month consistently at the same place, the same time every month. If 5 people show up, those are the 5 people that need to be there. On a consistent basis, though, I have anywhere from 50 to 100 people every single month showing up just to collaborate, and it's all about production, and it's nothing about EXP. In fact, I don't even say I'm Lux Property Group with EXP. I say I'm Elizabeth Riley with Lux Property Group. I also did this to counteract the EXP Explains. If y'all do EXP Explains, I'm sorry, but it just didn't work really well. And a lot of people were turned off by us. So now what's happening is if we're showing people who we are and showing the value that we bring, they're like, wait a minute, why are you opening up your playbooks? Well, we own this company. So when one person wins, we all win together. We're rowing in the same direction. And then people get curious and they're like, well, our company's not doing that. And they're coming to us and they're like, we want to know more about EXP. So we're showing them and we're not telling them. Showing them in anything. It's like your kids, right? You show anybody anything. It's much more than telling them something. So for me, I have those conversations with them all the time. I ask them what's important to them. Tell me about you. Tell me about your family. What's your goals? Like, and then they start talking about, well, I want to do 10 million. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about production. That's awesome. We can talk about how to get you to production, but like, what happens when you get those financial goals? Like, what is your dream? What's your big goal? Have them think bigger and then ask them how they're going to get there. Right? So they're not going to get there by one transaction at a time. You're just trading time for money. You're fired after every transaction. You have to go get another one. So like Rich Tomancini, I love the analogy. He talks about a 3-lane highway. We're on a 3-lane highway at EXP. Lane 1 is every company's doing the same thing. Buyers, sellers, leases, referrals, commissions. We're all earning income in that first lane. We're all driving down that lane. EXP changed the game when they brought in the second highway lane, which is stock and equity. Just for doing what we're doing in lane 1, I'm already ahead of the game because I'm getting stock. I've got stock from the stock employee purchase plan. I've got stock from Icon. I've never touched any of my stock. I don't need to, but when I want to, I will have it there, right? So it's like, wait, stock is better than baseball caps. And then number 3, if you want to, if you choose, you've got the revenue share lane. People join people. They're going to watch you. They're going to follow you. And even if they don't, stay in lane 1 and lane 2 is going to grow from that. So most people don't know what revenue share is. They don't care about revenue share until they call me one day and they're like, hey, so-and-so saw me and was asking me about EXP. I don't know much about them. Can I put a meeting together? Absolutely. And then I help bring them on for them.
Love that. And it's so in support of people too, which is amazing. I love you. You mentioned, I'm trying to grab as many of your awesome quotes, do not EXP on people. And that one is one of my favorites. I admittedly heard it before. And also though, it rings true because I think it's a classic problem. It kind of goes back to your conversation about real estate. It's like those agents who are out there just like, work with me, I'm great, work with me, I'm great, right? It's like the same thing. If you're like, come to my company, it's great, come to my company, it's great. They know that there's something in it for you and it neuters the whole entire thing. They do not believe you anymore if you are simply leading with that. So I guess my question is, so you said this earlier and I wrote it down. It's really good. And I'm going to go back to it later. Earn the conversation before you have the conversation. That's when you were talking about Gene. And I believe that you probably do that with everybody. Talk about earning the conversation before you have the conversation. And then how do you have the conversation? 75 FLAs here later. Clearly you've had the conversation. What does that look like? Or how have you opened that door so that they want to walk through it? What does that feel like for Elizabeth Riley?
Yeah. So for me, I treat my attraction like I do my production, right? I'm very passive, right? I want people to come to me. I want to create opportunities where people come to me. And like I said, if I'm not willing to do open houses or things like that, where I'm kind of being out there, what am I going to do to bring them to me? I do the same thing with attraction. And so, creating community, I see where the holes are and I watch and I observe. So creating community is such a big thing for me, and people don't operate like I do. It's really interesting because I think what I do is normal. And then I talk to people and they're like, no, that's not normal. You're just like, my ethos is different. If you know, Working Genius, like the disc profile, all those things that I have, I'm just a very different animal. And so for me to create something is no big deal. And then they come. So like the AHA Club, I knew that there was a hole there. People were like, well, we're missing collaboration. We're missing. It really started too, because the other companies were like, you can't have culture in a virtual brokerage. I'm like, I have more culture and community and support here at this brokerage than I did as #1 agent at Keller Williams, because they had 9 staff people trying to serve all these, like, you know what I mean? So that's where I was like, well, we'll show them culture. We can tell them all day long we have culture. But if I'm telling them, it's just somebody, again, telling you something. So then I just created AHA. So now, like I said, all these people. And what's really cool about AHA is that's all over the country now. People are popping those up everywhere. And I had a broker team come to me. They're like, this is amazing. You need to trademark this. You need to charge for this. Every time people are doing AHAs, all the things, I was like, I'm not going to do that. And they said, why not? I was like, I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to create opportunities for all of us at this company because we own this company.
I love it. So break open the AHA method and kind of what that approach looks like for folks who may not be in the loop.
Yeah. So it's agents helping agents. I mean, because I wasn't being very creative at that point. Also, KW days. Again, I go back to the KW days. You guys always remember, they're like, what's your aha takeaway? What's your aha moment? All these things. So I was like, well, here's our aha, agents helping agents. I do it once a month at the Austin Board of Realtors. Here's a cool thing too. The Board of Realtors don't usually, across the nation, they won't allow you to recruit. So I had to prove that that's not what we were doing. I had to prove we're showing value and adding value. I've done it consistently there every single month. We used to do it 11 to 1, and then they changed the time. And now I do it 9:30 to 11:30. I used to not charge. I charge $15 now. The reason I wasn't charging is I was like, oh, I want everybody to come, kumbaya. But people don't have skin in the game. If they don't have skin in the game, they don't show up. And then you've got these sponsors and you've got these food and all this other stuff. I'm like, no, no, no. I want it to be low cost, not to make money. I pay $500 a month for this room. I'm not charging people for that. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm doing it to be consistent. But now I charge $15 because then if they don't show up, it offsets, and then they feel like there's something more of value. Right. And then sometimes I have people that are flying. I had Phil Stringer fly in once. I had a business, right? I mean, so those are costs that I'm offsetting. So it's not a money-making thing for me, but my board actually just charges. So if you can find a place that doesn't charge, that's even better. The cool thing though about the board now though, is they see the value that bring, y'all, they put it on their calendar. Right? Now that's taken years to do, but they're like, oh my gosh, so much value. And their executive team is like, hey, can we talk in front of AHA? So it's a thing where it's become bigger. So I do it once a month. We only do it September now through May. We don't do it during the summer because we tried doing it during the summer and nobody shows up during the summer. That's why I'm saying do what I do, not as, like do as I say, not as I do, because I learned along the way all the mistakes. So we do it September through May. I now have 3 icon agents that help me with education topics, and then we pull people together. I send out an Eventbrite. I mean, it's not that challenging. We send out an Eventbrite. We send it to everybody in the Austin Board of Realtors, everybody in the MLS, because I want other agents to show up too. And then we tell our agents, invite guests, and then we protect their guests. So if Jeff brings in Lexi, but I know Lexi too, I'm not going to go after Lexi to try and recruit Lexi. I'm going to go after Lexi to support Jeff and see what I can do to add value.
Yeah, nice.
Elizabeth, this is so funny. And you probably don't remember. I certainly wouldn't expect you to, but Jeff and I presented actually probably nine years ago at one of our leadership meetings back in the good old days. And, Jason was leading those. And because we started what we called EXP Day. It was every Wednesday at our house, and some people on this call were there. And what we would do is we would have an open session in the morning, and I would put out on our kitchen, island. I had breakfast stuff and coffee and tea and all that stuff. And we had a big dining room table, and anybody from any brokerage could come and work on whatever they had to work on. If they were working on a transaction, if they were doing CE, whatever it was. And we all just, as a group of agents, talked and helped each other and worked through stuff and got ideas and all this stuff. And then we had a break for lunch where people could go home or make a sandwich out of the fridge. It didn't matter. Our house is always really open. And then in the evening from 4 to 6, we did a formal EXP Explained, because this was back in the day when everybody was like, what are you talking about? And it was so fun to open it up and have it be kind of non-denominational. It was just about getting together as agents, because you're all doing, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're with, you're all doing the same thing, just under a different heading. And it was really fun. And I love this AHA, and I love that it's on a bigger level, because, back in the day, we were really bootstrapping it with trying to explain EXP and what it looked like and felt like. And we would do a live demonstration of the world and all this stuff.
Oh yeah. I know we were doing the same thing. Gina and I would do it at Maggiano's, but it's hard to, talking to that many people, you can't really get into what's important to them, and there's questions, and then you don't have the chance to address it. And here's one thing too, because we've all been here for a long time, right? And the company has changed significantly. Like another thing that we did or we do is we had the top producers that we would get together in mastermind. I love our newbie agents. I love the agents that are growing their business, but the top producers mastermind differently. And we would get in person and then we'd get lazy. And so then we went to Zoom. So now we're consistently created the Austin Market Pulse. We do it every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Nobody misses that meeting. But I open everything to everybody at EXP. Not everybody does that. And I think that's a game changer too, because, and we've got some of the groups, and we didn't have this when we were all there, right? We've got all the different group names and things like that. Everybody's like, what's your group name? I'm like, I don't have a group name. EXP, like we're all together, right? And that's why we have Family Tree too, because Family Tree is a whole nother thing. But we don't have the different group names. And we have some of those different groups in my market, and they will come to me. They're like, hey, we're trying to work on retention. I'm like, just plug into everything we're all doing. You guys are keeping all your people on an island. And I said, that hurts us as a whole. Like if we're all collectively coming together as EXP, man, we're stronger in the market. We've got 1,000 agents in Austin. We're stronger in the marketplace, and nobody can stand up against that, seeing all that we have. And so the Austin Market Pulse call, we do it every single Tuesday. I mean, Leo will jump in that call, all these different things. Nobody misses that call. That's only EXP. But I open everything I do to everybody at EXP. I don't care if you're in my line or not. I don't know if you're in my line most times. I don't care. You're at EXP and we all win together. So I would encourage you to do that. It's just like if you're creating the AHAs the AHAs are not just for specific groups. We get icon credit now for AHAs. Right. So I went to the icon community and I was like, listen, the top producers and these icons are coming in and training and teaching and doing all these things. What can we do? Because we need the cultural component. So I put panels together. I put speaking together. Also, I do not put anybody on stage that is not EXP. And a lot of us all brand ourselves. And so people are like, whoa. So when guests are coming, they're like, I didn't know they were EXP. I didn't know they were EXP, because it's not about EXP. But I don't want to put, say, a Compass agent up there, and Lexi's at Compass, and they're like, oh, well, I really like Lexi. I'm just going to go to Compass. No. I'm showing you the power of what our company is. So it's very controlled from an EXP standpoint, but it doesn't appear that way. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. And I think that this idea of openness is something that the company's been trying to lean toward, right? We saw there was a period of time where it was very, like early on, everybody was holding hands and singing the same song. It was awesome. And then, of course, as things get bigger, and the opportunity is so incredible at EXP, right? It's so funny that you said there are all these copycats, and it reminds me of the old days. Do you remember when you would take a copy on a copy machine, and then you make a copy, and then you take that copy, and you make a copy of the copy, and then eventually it's just a blurry mess? And that's what's happening out there in the real estate space. If you want to go look at all the copies of copies of copies that are out there, guys, it's just a fuzzy, blurry mess. But EXP's OG. What's interesting, though, is that the company had to figure out at one point, we're siloing a little bit, right? Which was the net equivalent of what happened with the old franchise model. It's like everyone was trying to return to the thing that they knew, right? Like, we're so used to franchises, mine versus yours, and we'll compete even though we're both KW or whatever, right? And so we started opening up the company to say, well, how do we fix this? And it's been addressed in a number of really beautiful and elegant ways that have helped the company to continue to grow and see people now holding hands that used to maybe be seeing each other as competitors. Now they're collaborators. But it sounds like that's kind of core to just who you are and how you do business anyway.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, I've been screaming from the rafters on that whole thing too, with the holding hands. And what I realized, so Lexi, you just put Family Tree in there. I'll tell you kind of how that came about if you guys don't know Family Tree. So 4 of us had big, large organizations that are not in each other's lines. But we were early on in the company, right? So Hank Avink is out of Michigan, Rich Tomasini is now out of South Carolina, and Mitch is out of Florida. 4 of us all had big groups, and we would meet on accountability every single Monday. Hey, what are you doing for your group? Like, we're seeing all this stuff. Like, how are we relevant? How are we helping? How are we supporting? Because everybody kept saying, well, your upline matters. Okay. I don't believe that. I have Glenn in my upline, and Glenn's a little busy. I don't think Glenn's going to sit there and do masterminds and come in and do, AHAs with me and things like that. So, like, we're all winning together. And that was the beautiful thing of what Glenn created. So the family tree, the four of us were like, well, why are we all trying to do all this? Let's just bring family tree together, all of our islands together into one, where your upline doesn't matter. We don't care what org you're in. We don't care what group you're in. We don't care any of that stuff. If you're at EXP, you're welcome in this group. Hank said something that was very profound because I was so frustrated, and I'm just being very transparent. We got to open questions too, because I'm sure people have questions, but I was so frustrated with exactly what was happening. Like, you've got this group over here, and oh, you can't be over here unless you're in my org. And this group, I was like, that is not why EXP was created. I sat across from Glenn, and he told me why it was created. He told me that everybody's going to win together. And it's like, how did we get away from that? And Hank said, we're still using the fax machine when everybody's moved on to email. And that was an eye-opening experience for me because I was like, oh, you're right. And what I realized is that legacy thread was getting faint because of our corporate teams had changed. Not that it was bad, but as our company was evolving, leadership needs to evolve and leadership needs to change, which is amazing, but they don't have that legacy. They weren't here, Jeff, when we were here and all holding our hands together. And the reason the three of us are so close is because of those early days, right? So there's no fault to EXP, but it's like, oh, it's on us to bring back that legacy thread and make sure that's woven into our story, because that, I think, is what's bringing it back around. Because Glenn, like, he's amazing, but he was super involved when we were building this, right? And now he stepped back to do other big things, which is amazing. But Leo wasn't here during those times.
Right.
And Leo's great moving us forward, but he wasn't here looking backwards. So I think we need to look backwards and remember where we came from to know where we're going. And that's going to be our differentiating factor against any brokerage out there. And that's why I also think it's important for people that don't know a lot about EXP, or, hey, I don't have a lot of experience here. Who can I talk to? It's like when you're a new agent, you want to shadow people, right? You want to learn from people. Bring those of us in there that might relate. Glenn, I mean, Gene still calls me. He's like, Elizabeth, I haven't sold a house in 30 years. I need you to talk to this person. Like, let us all figure out who has a different skill set and let us help you. Right? I'm happy to get on calls anytime to help people talk it through. But you don't have to know everything because you have all of us to lean on. So
I love that. Yeah, really, really powerful stuff. And it's interesting because there's also all sorts of different takeaways here. I'm trying to really make sure that I don't get too divergent. There's a unifying thread inside this company of people who are highly entrepreneurial and who crave freedom. And I think that's actually a unifying force in real estate. If you talk to 1,000 real estate agents, most of them got into the business because they wanted a higher sense of freedom or autonomy, or didn't want to work for somebody else, or wanted to believe they could achieve financial independence, or, right? But they all kind of mean the same thing. It's just this idea of I can have what I want and do what I want, and I don't feel constrained or whatever. It's taking the limiter off. And so I've enjoyed about EXP that it's always stayed grounded in that core concept of like, that's why we're all here. It's the whole reason, whether it's your first day in real estate and you're like, how in the heck do I even get a listing? Or it's your 12 trillionth day in real estate and you're like, I've forgotten more about real estate than Jeff will ever know. That's great. And yet we're all still here after one thing. And that's this sense of freedom, of not being owned, of having what we want and being able to stretch our arms and feel like we have space. And I think EXP has been such an important ingredient in that soup for so many people who needed a better environment to achieve that. And so I love that. It sounds like that's
the people I love. I mean, the people at this company are some of my kids told me, Mom, you need some friends. I'm like, I have friends. They're like, they're all in real estate. I'm like, these are my people. Like, these are my family. This is my partners. I don't see them as just, oh, this is a real estate person. You know, it's so bizarre and it's hard to explain that. But I love that. But I will say this to you and any of your agents and anybody out there, connect with me. And I'm happy to talk to anybody if it's helpful. I'm much better with producers. I mean, I can talk to brand new baby agents too, but I prefer not to. So if you have producers or teams or strategy or any of that stuff, I'll put best way is to get me on Instagram until we get Hub and everything up. So it's in there.
Woo-hoo.
What questions do I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to kind of connect directly with you. And although everything you've said has been just refreshing. I love it. I love to hear it, because some of us that go way back, we do miss the old days, quote unquote, in a way, but it's not that we miss them, but honoring that
Yeah.
and the progression and what's been built is really interesting. And I think it's important for people to know kind of what they're joining. And it is something with a big past now. It's not, EXP is not new anymore. We can't say that. It's not an unknown new model anymore. Like you said, lots of copycats. So, what questions do you guys have? I know we have a lot of people in here that just rock it like you do, icons, but also really respect and admire you. Liz.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth. It's
Hi.
really nice to have you in our group. What an honor.
Well, thanks for having me, y'all.
Leave it to Jeff and Lexi to pull that off. So, you're like what do they call it? A goat in my world.
You're sweet. Thank you.
As a fellow icon, I know what it means to do that, and so it's just an honor to have you here. But anyways, it's nice to hear you talk about. You're just really training. You're really hitting those heart muscles for me because it just really rings true about what you're saying about Glenn. I think people that maybe didn't have the luxury of having those one-on-one conversations like some of us that were originally joined did. Not that he's not approachable, right? We all know he's approachable, but it just gets more and more complicated as we grow in numbers. But his vision for the company and the things that you said about him are absolutely true. And he really does, when he says that he wants to keep EXP agent centric, he really means it.
Yeah.
And so I get kind of protective and a little frustrated when people try and say otherwise, because that really, really is at the heart of Glenn and at the heart of people like you, and the heart of a lot of people in this room is that we really, really see the authenticity of EXP and want to honor it. And so it's just really nice and refreshing to hear you say that and to remind us of why we're all here and that we are all here as a family and friends. And so just wanted to take a minute and actually say that to you. Thank you again for being here.
I appreciate it. And it's I always love those conversations too when people ask me, especially y'all in the era we're in right now with all these companies doing crazy stuff like in acquisitions. And I'm having so many conversations now because people their cheese is moving, right? So Compass, and I can't talk against these companies. And I tell people that I was like, I've never been at Compass. I can't tell you what it's like to be at Compass. So I'm not going to pretend like I do, because then I'm no better than anybody else. But here's what I do know. Tell me kind of what your pain points are, what's going on. Compass is charging a whole bunch of money. They're doing all these different things and all the, they're changing things even though they told the agents they wouldn't. And we all know it's because, well, they just acquired a ton of debt and they're not making any money and they're owned by outside investors. And when you're owned by outside investors, they want an ROI. They don't care about the agent who's struggling in whatever the market looks like, right? So when people tell me kind of what their pain points, because the one asking the questions is in control of the conversation. So I ask a ton of questions when I'm sitting across them. Like if they say, well, EXP is, really expensive, or I know that it's whatever it is per month or something. I'm like, okay, we'll come back to that. Tell me about kind of where this is for you so I can understand what they're talking about. But I always come back to, I've been at this company for 11 years. Glenn Sanford stood on stage multiple times and said, this is going to be the most agent-centric, agent-owned company ever on the planet. And 78% of this company is owned by the agents. And so I've been in meetings where Glenn has said, I will never change the fees, I will never change the splits, and I will never change the caps, and I will never do anything that negatively impacts the agent. And then I can honestly and confidently sit there and tell that agent, and let me tell you, I've been here 11 years, and he stood by that. They've never changed anything to negatively impact us, but they've added massive, massive value. And that's one of the reasons I love this company. They stand behind what they say, and the agents own the company. So it depends on like who you're talking to, but the pain points are these other brokerages are extremely expensive right now, and the market isn't what it was in 21 or 22. Thank God, by the way, that wasn't fun either. But I can talk to them saying, look, we're owned by the company. We're not having those changes. We have no debt, things like that. And I think that's important for people to know, because they don't they weren't there when Glenn would always stand on the stage, where we're the clients and we're the consumer, where they're always trying to create things to get us to a yes. The fact that we have a no busters line, I think that name is horrible, but I mean, it really is called a no busters line. Like, if they start looking and creating those questions and curiosity, they start looking at their company a little bit more, they're critiquing it a little bit differently. And then they're like, it creates more questions for them to come back and see what we're doing. And then when they understand us a little bit more, that's when things happen. So I think it's important for all of us that have been here a long time to not come back, not combative and not debate them, but just say, hey, in my experience, this is what's happened. And not everybody has that experience that we do.
Very,
Yeah,
very good points. Thank you.
I love that. Let's see, Joe, I think you were next. Let's pull Joe up.
I am next.
Hello, Joe. It's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while. I remember the first time I was in a room with Elizabeth Riley, and it was early on. It was like 2018. Dave Gagnon was doing the Rock the Comma tour. I think we were in Vegas, and Gove was going to speak, and he was new. But I remember because she was almost so humble and almost apologetic about her rev share situation. And so I love hearing her like embrace the, hey, I got 75 and he's one of them and everything else like that. Because Dave said something, he was talking about rev share and he's like points to Elizabeth and the success she's having. And I remember her saying along the lines of, well, I'm different. And she almost didn't want to take full credit for, what was happening for don't give me all the credit that I, for this, because it's a different situation. And it's just like going, I love the humbleness of that. But at the same time, no, it was just the early stage of what she's continued to do the entire time, which is being interested in other people, having other people interested in her. It just happened to be an early home run that actually benefited the entire company. I mean, I watched John Seller sent me a video of Gene Frederick and Mitch Richmond in a grainy film from 1943. And, that's the first video I saw. So if she doesn't have a conversation with Gene Frederick, I don't see a video about him talking to Susan about selling the stores and everything else like that. So anyway, I just want to say, hey, how cool it was that your humbleness, but at the same time, I love the fact that you're embracing your success. I do have a question, but the other thing I want to say is talk about queen of contribution at our company. I mean, every time you see her, she's just giving. John Cheplack says you can't lose your contribution. A testament to that. I mean, it's just and so to that point, what does your schedule look like? I mean, as somebody who has a fairly small, better than most revenue share organization, but, obviously, a blip on the radar for where you're at, and then also doing a decent amount of personal production myself. And I'm like, and I'm, the same as you, I'm kind of like scattered and I'm a paper guy and stuff. So, I mean, I can get off track where all of a sudden I don't do rev share for, 6 months or I have any kind of a conversation. I think I just gave myself a compliment by saying only 6 months. And yet then it's my production. I don't even know where it comes from. I mean, I'm just kind of like haphazard. And then I see you and you're like going, oh, we do AHA. And then I do my weekly Tuesday mastermind. I do family tree. And I'm an icon agent for, 11 years in a row. What the hell does that look like? How do we try to emulate even a small portion of that to have some of that success?
Well, thank you for all of that. I love that you were in that room back in Vegas. I think it was in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's funny because you've kind of seen the evolution, and I'll tell you the messy behind, the mess behind the beautiful part, right? Rev share was all the talk back then, and that's when I was in my head about, oh, you're lucky, you don't deserve all the things, and I grew up with nothing, really. I mean, we didn't have a lot growing up. My parents were foster parents. We had 140 children in 20 years. And so we had a lot of love to give, but not a whole lot. And so I didn't really know what to do when I started making money. and I felt really, really, really guilty. And I didn't feel like I deserved it. And I had this love hate with this wealth thing, right? And I didn't know what to do. And I felt like if people knew what I was doing, I would lose relationships. It was a struggle I had internally. One of the coaches, though, that had told me, he's like, Elizabeth, here's the beautiful thing. When it's not about income anymore, it's about impact. And when he said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, I can impact more people. I can do bigger things. I can help more people. And that's when it clicked for me. And then also when other people would talk about, and my other coaches would tell me about the lucky thing, I really felt like I didn't deserve to be in that room when you saw me. The other thing that was interesting is a lot of y'all would see probably like Brent and then Jean, and it stopped. So nobody really knew I was there because Brent and Jean were kind of big personalities and all the other things. And it wasn't until people held me accountable and put a mirror up for me to look at saying, we need you to step up. Because I was staying in the background because I felt like, oh, that's where I'm being put and that's where I need to be. And if they don't see my value, and I mean, nothing negative there at all. But like, if there's not a value here, then, I'm just going to go do my thing and do my sales and whatever. It wasn't until people were like, we need you raising your hand. And that's when I started stepping up a little bit differently. And it was uncomfortable because I lead from the back and I love to push other people forward, but I'm still evolving and trying to be a better leader when people say things, and I'm taking that for to heart because I don't think people would say things to me unnecessarily. So that's why you've seen me kind of evolve and grow and figure it out again as we all figure this out together. My schedule, wow, that is a good question. It's a mess. I love my children, but I told them the other day I'm ready for school to start again. So summer is like trying to figure all that thing out. And I don't know. The production thing has really been a big focus of mine because of the 7 levels, right? Because if I hit icon, I keep my 7 levels open. I've got one of the largest 7 levels in the company. And so for me, it's a thing. I mean, I need my FLQAs and all the things, but I don't want to rely on that. And so if Icon would just keep my levels open, that's why I kept doing the production. The fact that EXP just introduced another solution is freedom for me. Because now what I'm going to be able to do is step back from the production. I'm still going to do production, but I can give more people some of the deals and help them in a different way so that it frees up my schedule. So 50% of my production can go to me building out more people or loving on people or doing things like that. I was spread extremely thin for a long time because I wouldn't ask for help and I wouldn't accept people's help until people would raise their hand again. Now I've got people coming into my ecosystem going, Elizabeth, we want to help. And when I did a mastermind with the Working Genius. Have y'all done that? The Working Genius? Oh, that is a good one. I would encourage you all to do the Working Genius. It's really short, but there's 6 different levels and personality types. And what you start realizing, everybody leads with 2 strengths. They can do the other things, and then the 2 lower ones, they can do it, but they don't like doing it. So I'm more of a visionary. I'm not an implementer. But then I have people in my ecosystems are more of an implementer, not the visionary, right? Yeah, Jeff, that's it. It's so good, y'all. I did a whole mastermind on it. Once I started realizing those are people's gifts and I was denying them their gifts and their strengths, that was the aha for me. And so now I have people that are raising their hand that they help me with aha. That's why I have this education committee, because I was coming up with all the topics and I was doing all the things. But now we all knock it out at once and it's not just me doing all the heavy lifting. And so ahas they help me with. And the masterminds, it's a Zoom call, but it's the consistent, and my leaders are pushing it out and they're making sure, and one of my agents, she sends an email out to everybody just because she loves to serve in that way. So I'm letting people help me where I was saying, no, I had to do it all. They're all saying I want to, and I'm trusting them in that. And it's been freeing me up a little bit more. We do the happy hours once a month to bring the community together, but Stacy leads with that. Right? Where I didn't have to do that. I didn't want to do that. She took it off my plate because she loves to do that and it fills her soul. So people want to feel useful. They want to feel helpful. They want to be in your world because they feel like they tell me this, you're doing so much for us. You're on these calls all the time. You're doing all these things. How can we help you? And they want to help. So I would allow the people around you to help in the way that they want to help, That's their gift. God gave them gifts to serve in a certain way, and it's not necessarily going to be like you. For my production side, Jen is my assistant. She's been my TC for 15 years. Last 2 years, I turned her more into an operations director because I happened to mention to her, I need to hire an operations director. What does that need to look like? And she's like, would you consider me for that? I'm like, oh my gosh, you would want to do that? Like, I never in a million years. But she's a high C. I am not, which is great. Like, we're completely opposites. So Jen now is my operations director. I hired 2 VAs. I was trying to manage all of this myself. And then I realized Jen wants to do that. So she manages my 2 VAs, right? So you just have to kind of figure out where your holes are. I was doing a whole bunch of things unnecessarily that was just drowning me. And I didn't know I had the solutions if I just looked up. So that's what I do. My VAs, I have 2 of them. I have them 40 hours a week. Each week, they're part of my family. One's Annika and one is Sabrina. Sab helps me with graphics or marketing materials or my presentations or things like that. I'll throw something at her and I'm like, hey, put this in a pretty presentation. Or she does my Eventbrite now. So I've cross-trained her to say, hey, when we have this speaker, I need you to get their bio. I need you to get their headshot. I need you to send out the Eventbrite. So we started all that up. So Sab helps me with any of that kind of marketing stuff out there. She helps also with the production side as far as sending updates to our clients and whatever else. Annika helps me with all my database entry. Can I do it? Yeah. Do I want to? No. Annika also, we had a hole in onboarding, right? EXP brings on a lot of people and they had dropped the ball on a few and I don't want anybody to feel that way. And so I had Annika create like an onboarding process. So anybody in my org that comes on now, they have to go through Annika because then Annika pulls them into our weekly trainings and all of our different things and make sure that they have a connection where they're not all coming to me with got a minutes, right? Like we all know that you got a minute, it turns into a 45-minute coaching session. So she can buffer a lot of that with all the onboarding and more of an extension of me that she can pull me in when she needs to. So that's what my 2 VAs do.
I love it. That's a business. You got a well-oiled machine, it sounds like.
We're getting there. We're setting up SOPs and we're setting up different structures, especially to allow me to step back a little bit from the production. Meredith's going to step more forward in the listings and Leanne on the buyers. I'm still going to be very involved, but hopefully not as involved as I have been. Like, I don't want to have to go, meet the photographer, which is, you know what I mean? Things like that. So I'm just taking things off of my plate slowly and they're creating the processes and I'm like, okay, that looks good because I'm not a process person. I'm a very high SD on the disc profile, but I'm like, okay, that's awesome. I want to love on all my people, but then I get my high D comes in and then I just let them run with it. It's relinquishing control.
It's great. And I know that over time you've tweaked as you've been going along and you're much better now about not doing everything. Yay. That's great.
Failing forward. Hey, Justin.
We all do, hopefully, right? Justin.
Hey, everyone. Elizabeth, great to meet you. It's not often we meet the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And thank you, Jeff and Lexi, for putting this on. Love you guys. It's always great to see you as well. Elizabeth, where I am for myself is I'm also doing production. I'm a team leader, very proud of my team. We scored one of the top 10 teams in our province of Canada on the West Coast for the first time we got on the board. It's not the first time. We're going to hit it now every month. And I'm so proud of and going to be Icon here myself for the first time next month. So we've been working really hard on production. And also agent attraction is a very important part of what I do. And I say I do because I love it because like you mentioned, you're able to make an impact. And I noticed that we have 70 people that are in our organization that we're working with, 70 souls, 70 families that we're working with. And over the last few years, I did not give back to them. I was so focused on production that they were there, but I wasn't loving on them. And so a lot of the things that you're saying are like, oh my gosh, this really resonates. And my wife, Bianca, She is so in touch with people and emotions and giving back. And she was like, Justin, we got to do something to give back. So we just started doing our weekly calls 2 months ago for High Tide Worldwide. That's our kind of organization. We wanted to brand it because a rising tide floats all boats, and we're giving back to them. And I noticed something really interesting. And if anyone on the call hasn't done this in a while, I went back and I looked at my organization. I said, how much percentage of these people are actually doing production? Like how many are doing, 5, 10 deals a year? And in this, kind of era or time in our industry, there's a lot of agents that are doing 0 deals or
Yeah.
2 deals. And believe it or not, out of 70, only 8 of them were doing 5 or more. I could not believe it. And when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, this is a sign that we need to give back and pour into them, give them skills, give them tools, because it takes a lot of energy to attract a new agent.
Yeah.
And I think that we forget about who's in our organization that needs our love and our attention and our skills and our technology and what we're learning. Because if we're producing really well on our team, why aren't we giving it back to our downline and sharing it with them? So that's why
Yeah.
we started the weekly calls. My question for you is, and I've been hearing it, like Joe, you asked it, is like, how do you arrange the schedule? Because we have a 2.5-year-old, and we've got two other companies and other industries. And I
Yeah.
literally think sometimes I'm pulling out my hair because every hour of the day seems to be booked. And now we want to go and pour more into them. We want to attract and have more conversations. And we're doing production. We have our production team. And so I guess where the question is coming is, if you were to go back and reverse, maybe when you had 50 people or 70 people in your downline, and you would see this trend where a lot of them aren't producing, what would you advise or what would you do differently in order to pour back into them instead of, and so that you can help them even more to increase their sales? Because I'm noticing the ones that show up for our weekly calls are, guess what? The top 10.
Yeah.
The other 60 are not. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. How can I make them drink? How can I make them get more thirsty?
You can't make anybody do anything, right? It's like, what's the pebble in their shoe? And that's been something, and not even if I were to go back, even now moving forward, I'm looking at my org. So we didn't have access to our orgs like we do now, which is great because now I can watch the numbers a little bit more. And that's why I also have Annika in place, because I will create an email saying, hey, do you know this? I send out a weekly calendar of different trainings and different things every single Sunday. And I have a fraction of the people in my org show up. So the resources are there. But I think what happens is, especially in my org, is a lot of people got in the business the last few years and they think real estate's easy. So when the market shifts, they don't know what to do. And so I am trying to be intentional with my frontline. Most of my frontline are icons or cappers. I celebrate them too, by the way. So anytime somebody hits capping, I have a gift I send them. If somebody hits icon, I've got 2 houses that I've done this thing where it's like, you worked hard, go play hard in the mountains or go play hard in the lake. So like I have them celebrate with their families and just giving them that, so figure out ways to celebrate them. I do gratitude lunches once a quarter. When I go to one of the EXPCon events, or when we did shareholders, I'll always do a dinner or something for those that are going to be there. I want to get them in the room and around other producers, but you cannot make them do anything. And you could call all 70 people. I was doing that for a while. Once a quarter, I would call all of my frontline. You can call everybody in your org and just say, hey, I just want you to know I'm here as a resource. These are all the things that we have. We would love to see you pour in more and make sure that they feel special. But also EXP has so many resources now that we didn't have then. Does Canada have fast cap?
We just came out with our very first fast cap. So what we're going to be doing is, most of my downline is actually in the States. So we're going to be taking them through as an organization. And Brian Ellington was kind enough to say, we can create you a custom CISU for your team so you can bring all 70 of your team as a group through it.
Yeah, I would do that because fast cap has been a game changer. And I've got I've got agents here that, she and her husband were #1 in Coldwell Banker in luxury. She's been in the business 28 years. She's gone through it 4 times. She's like, I love fast cap because there's different coaches, different trainings, different things. And so when I've got these top producers and I've gone through it as well, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are resources. And so I make sure that they know the resources they have because quite frankly, there is so much. that it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I mean, Brian Ellington's in my market, and I don't know half of what's going on most of the time, right? And so if I don't know what's going on, how are they, how are they going to know? And I've gone to Susan McLean, and we're trying to figure out a way where everything can be in one place, because it's great that we have so much and people can pick what tools they want at any given time. But if they have too much, then they do nothing. So I would, if I were you, 70 is manageable, and you and your wife divide and conquer. Cut everything lives on my calendar, by the way. I time block everything now, even family time. So if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. And I mean, my family was realizing they were feeling like they weren't even a priority anymore, because I was being reactive with everything. I'd call a client, be on the call at 9 o'clock at night or whatever else. So now that I can time block it, I can go to them and say, hey, I have a call tonight, because it's an exception, not a rule. And now I get a little bit more grace because my family feels like they're the priority, right? So I had to switch my priorities, but that included my calendar. So if I were you, I would take you and your wife, divide that list up, call them all one-on-one, or schedule a time for them one-on-one, a 30-minute call. What's going well for you this year? Where do you feel like you're having challenges? What's your goal for the next 6 months and for next year? And how can I help? Because what you'll find out, and I didn't know this until I asked those questions, was a lot of them want to do production, but a lot more want to do attraction. And y'all, the attraction is the production. That's another reason I stay in production. Like, that's attractive. People want to build their business. They don't care necessarily about rev share and all these other things. How can you help me sell 2 more homes, 5 more homes, 10 more homes, whatever it is? But you won't know that until you talk to them individually. And then when you talk to them individually, you can say, oh, and by the way, we're going to do this as a company. Did you know about this fast cap? No, I didn't know about that. Oh my gosh, you got to be a part of this. And then you can figure out and put a plan together, because each person's goals are going to be different. And whether you've got a group that is brand new baby agents and you want to do one call, you can do one call here, but just schedule things and make it consistent. But that's what I would do. My top producer call came because of the feedback I was getting. I mean, brand new agents are important, but we don't need a call on how to open a lockbox. And so the brand new agents can come in and listen and observe, but the top producers are masterminding differently, which is serving 2 things. It's serving the top producers, but it's serving the agents learning underneath us. But you have to do things consistently. But I would start with having conversations with all the people in your org.
I wrote it down. I just got a page of notes. I
I
appreciate it
know.
so much. And by the way, Jeff and Lexi were coaching Bianca and myself, because we were ready to launch this big library and do all this creation. And we're like, why are we doing this when EXP's already got it set up and it's already live? And by the way, anyone who's listening, if you haven't done FastCap, that's how my team got on the top 10 teams list in April, because we went and did it not once, because repetition is the mother of skill. We did it twice as a team. We went through it, then we tracked everything. So don't recreate the wheel. Like, just
And now they have Fast Attract too. So if people want to get more into attraction piece, get into Fast Attract. So utilize the systems and the tools that Jeff and Lexi and I did not have when we first came on. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I think ultimately, like everything else you mentioned, Elizabeth, it's authentic to who you are and what works for you in your life on all of these things. And that's, Jeff and I came from education. That's why we started doing a weekly training event every week and a leadership group. And then now we're at once a month because it's long enough, but we like to maintain face-to-face time with whoever wants to show up. We're always here. And then those resources, oh my goodness, like it's like at least once a year we do a session, Elizabeth, that just talks only about all the EXP stuff. And honestly, we have to do like education for ourselves first, because there's
a lot.
So much it's hard to even, keep up with. But Elizabeth, I honestly, thank you's not enough. Just having your grace. We're so grateful that you're with this company, but you've given voice to what the most important things are. And that keeps everybody tethered. We love you. We respect you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me.
We need to get together.
I know. I would love to see you guys. But thank you guys for having me. It's always an honor, and I adore y'all, and anything I can ever do for you or any of the people on the call, like I said, just connect with me. Instagram's easier right now. I'm hoping we get everybody to Hub, by the way. That's one big thing.
Yeah.
get everybody over to Hub. But until then, if I can ever serve in any way or help have a conversation, I'm happy to do that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, everyone.
Mwah.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Love you guys.